According to Constantine Porphyrogenitus's De Administrando Imperio, c. 950, Ragusa was founded in the 7th century, named for a rocky island called Lausa, by refugees from Epidaurus. Ragusa Vecchia, a Greek city situated some 15 kilometers to the south, when that city was destroyed in the Slavic incursions. 19. Excavations in 2007 revealed a Byzantine basilica from the 8th century and parts of the city walls. The size of the old basilica clearly indicates that there was quite a large settlement at the time. There is also evidence for the presence of a settlement in the pre-Christian era. 20. Anton Nicetic, in his 1996 book Povigus Dubrovnik, History of the Port of Dubrovnik, expounds the theory that Dubrovnik was established by Greek sailors. Citation needed, as a station halfway between the two Greek settlements of Budva and Quauricula, 95 nautical miles, 176 kilometers, 109 miles, apart from each other. Republic of Ragusa main article, Republic of Ragusa medieval fortresses, Lovrijanak and Bokar. Dubrovnik before the earthquake in 1667, after the fall of the Ostrogothic kingdom, the town came under the protection of the Byzantine Empire. Dubrovnik in those medieval centuries had a Roman population. 21. After the Crusades, Dubrovnik came under the sovereignty of Venice, 1205 to 1358, which would give its institutions to the Dalmatian city. After a fire destroyed almost the whole city in the night of August 16, 1296, a new urban plan was developed. 22, 23, 24, by the peace treaty of Zadar in 1358, Dubrovnik achieved relative independence as a vassal state of the Kingdom of Hungary. Between the 14th century and 1808, Dubrovnik ruled itself as a free state, although it was a vassal from 1382 to 1804 of the Ottoman Empire and paid an annual tribute to its sultan. 25. The Republic reached its peak in the 15th and 16th centuries, when its thalassocracy rivaled that of the Republic of Venice and other Italian maritime republics. For centuries, Dubrovnik was an ally of Ancona, the other Adriatic maritime republic rival of Venice, which was the Ottoman Empire's chief rival for control of the Adriatic. This alliance enabled the two towns set on opposite sides of the Adriatic to resist attempts by the Venetians to make the Adriatic a Venetian bay, also controlling directly or indirectly all the Adriatic ports. Ancona and Dubrovnik developed an alternative trade route to the Venetian, Venice-Austria-Germany. Starting in Dubrovnik, it went on to Ancona, through Florence and ended in Flanders as seen on this map. The Republic of Ragusa received its own statutes as early as 1272, statutes which, among other things, codified Roman practice and local customs. The statutes included prescriptions for town planning and the regulation of quarantine, for sanitary reasons. 26. The Republic was an early adopter of what are now regarded as modern laws and institutions. A medical service was introduced in 1301, with the first pharmacy, still operating to this day, being opened in 1317. An almshouse was opened in 1347, and the first quarantine hospital, lazaret, was established in 1377. Slave trading was abolished in 1418. And an orphanage opened in 1432. A 20 kilometers, 12 miles, water supply system, instead of a cistern, was constructed in 1438 by the Neapolitan architect and engineer Onofrio della Cava. He completed the aqueduct with 2 public fountains. He also built a number of mills along one of its branches. The city was ruled by the local aristocracy, which was of Latin Dalmatian extraction, and formed 2 city councils. As usual for the time, they maintained a strict system of social classes. The Republic abolished the slave trade early in the 15th century and valued liberty highly. The city successfully balanced its sovereignty between the interests of Venice and the Ottoman Empire for centuries. The languages spoken by the people were the Romance Dalmatian and Common Croatian. The latter started to replace Dalmatian little by little since the 11th century among the common people who inhabited the city. Italian and Venetian would become important languages of culture and trade in Dubrovnik. At the same time, Dubrovnik became a cradle of Croatian literature. Big Onofrio's fountain, 1438. The economic wealth of the Republic was partially the result of the land it developed, but especially of seafaring trade. With the help of skilled diplomacy, Dubrovnik merchants traveled lands freely, and on the sea the city had a huge fleet of merchant ships, argosy, that traveled all over the world. From these travels they founded some settlements, from India to America, and brought parts of their culture and flora home with them. One of its keys to success was not conquering, but trading and sailing under a white flag with the word Latin, libertas, freedom, prominently featured on it. The flag was adopted when slave trading was abolished in 1418. Many conversos, Jews from Spain and Portugal, were attracted to the city. In May 1544, a ship landed there filled exclusively with Portuguese refugees, as Balthasar de Faria reported to King John. During this time there worked in the city one of the most famous cannon and bell founders of his time, Ivan Rabeljan, and Magister Johannes Baptista Arbensis de Latal. Already in 1571 Dubrovnik sold its protectorate over some Christian settlements in other parts of the Ottoman Empire to France and Venice. At that time there was also a colony of Dubrovnik infs in Morocco. The Bishop of Dubrovnik was a cardinal protector in 1571. At that time there were only 16 other countries which had cardinal protectors, those being France, Spain, Austria, Portugal, Poland, England, Scotland, Ireland, Naples, Sicily, Sardinia, Savoy, Lucca, Greece, Illyria, Armenia and Lebanon. Territory of the Republic before 1808, the Republic gradually declined due to a combination of a Mediterranean shipping crisis and the catastrophic earthquake of 1667 which killed over 5,000 citizens and leveled most of the public buildings, and consequently negatively impacted the whole well-being of the Republic. In 1699, the Republic was forced to sell 2 mainland patches of its territory to the Ottomans in order to avoid being caught in the clash with advancing Venetian forces. Today this strip of land belongs to Bosnia and Herzegovina and is that country's only direct access to the Adriatic. A highlight of Dubrovnik's diplomacy was the involvement in the American Revolution. In 1806, the city surrendered to the Napoleonic Army, as that was the only way to end a month-long siege by the Russian Montenegrin fleets, during which 3,000 cannonballs fell on the city. At first, Napoleon demanded only free passage for his troops, promising not to occupy the territory and stressing that the French were friends of Dubrovnik. Later, however, French forces blockaded the harbors, forcing the government to give in and let French troops enter the city. On this day, all flags and coats of arms above the city walls were painted black as a sign of mourning. In 1808, Marshal Auguste de Marmont abolished the Republic and integrated its territory first into Napoleon's Kingdom of Italy and later into the Illyrian provinces under French rule. This was to last until January 28, 1814 when the city surrendered to Captain Sir William Hoste leading a body of British and Austrian troops who were besieging the fortress. Languages: the official language until 1472 was Latin. Later, the Senate of the Republic decided that the official language of the Republic would be the Dubrovnik dialect of the Romance Dalmatian language, and forbade the use of the Croatian language in senatorial debate. The Gospari, the aristocracy, held on to their language for many centuries, but it slowly disappeared. The Italian language as spoken in the Republic was heavily influenced by the Venetian language and the Tuscan dialect. Italian took root among the Dalmatian-speaking merchant upper classes, as a result of Venetian influence. Austrian rule: when the Habsburg Empire annexed these provinces after the 1815 Congress of Vienna, the new authorities implemented a bureaucratic administration, established the Kingdom of Dalmatia, which had its own saber, diet, or parliament, based in the city of Zadar, and political parties such as the Autonomist Party and the People's Party. They introduced a series of modifications intended to slowly centralize the bureaucratic, tax, religious, educational, and trade structure. Unfortunately for the local residents, these steps largely failed, despite the intention of wanting to stimulate the economy. Once the personal, political and economic damage of the Napoleonic Wars had been overcome, new movements began to form in the region, calling for a political reorganization of the Adriatic along national lines. The combination of these two forces, a flawed Habsburg administrative system and new national movement claiming ethnicity as the founding bloc toward a community, posed a particularly perplexing problem. Dalmatia was a province ruled by the German-speaking Habsburg monarchy, with bilingual, Croatian and Italian-speaking, elites that dominated the general population consisting of a Croatian Catholic majority, and a Slavic Orthodox minority. The Libertas flag of Dubrovnik. In 1815, the former Dubrovnik government, its noble assembly, met for the last time in Ljetnikovac in Mokosica. Once again, extreme measures were taken to re-establish the republic, but it was all in vain. After the fall of the republic, most of the aristocracy was recognized by the Austrian Empire. In 1832, Baron Sismundo Gedel Gundulic, Sigismundo Gedel Gondola 1795–1860, was elected mayor of Dubrovnik, serving for 13 years. The Austrian government granted him the title of Baron. Count Raphael Pusic, Raffaele Passa, 1828–1890, was elected for first time Podesta of Dubrovnik in the year 1869. After this was re-elected in 1872, 1875, 1882, 1884, and elected twice into the Dalmatian Council, 1870, 1876. The victory of the Nationalists in Split in 1882 strongly affected in the areas of Kauricula and Dubrovnik. It was greeted by the mayor, Podesta, of Dubrovnik Raphael Pusic, the National Reading Club of Dubrovnik, the Workers' Association of Dubrovnik and the Revue Slovenac, by the communities of Kuna and Orebic, the latter one getting the nationalist government even before Split. Unveiling of the Gundulic Monument in 1893. In 1889, the Serb Catholic Circle supported Baron Francesco Gedel de Gondola, the candidate of the Autonomous Party, versus the candidate of Popular Party Vlahoda Juli, in the 1890 election to the Dalmatian Diet. 31. The following year, during the local government election, the Autonomous Party won the municipal re-election with Francesco Gondola, who died in power in 1899. The alliance won the election again on May 27, 1894. Frano Gedel de Gundulic founded the Sociedad Philately on December 4, 1890. In 1905, the Committee for Establishing Electric Tram Service, headed by Luko Bunic, certainly one of the most deserving persons who contributed to the realization of the project, was established. Other members of the committee were Ivo Papi, Maio Papi, Artur Saraca, Mato Sarac, Anton Pugliese, Mato Grasic, Ivo Degielli, Ernest Katic and Anton Milik. The tram service in Dubrovnik existed from 1910 to 1970. Pero Singrija, 1837 to 1921, one of the leaders of the People's Party in Dalmatia, played the main role in the merger of the People's Party and the Party of Right into a single Croatian party in 1905. 1918 to 1991, with the fall of Austria-Hungary in 1918, the city was incorporated into the new Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, later the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Dubrovnik became one of the 33 oblasts of the kingdom. When in 1929 Yugoslavia was divided among 9 Banovina, the city became part of the Zeta Banovina. In 1939 Dubrovnik became part of the newly created Banovina of Croatia. During World War II, Dubrovnik became part of the Nazi puppet independent state of Croatia, occupied by the Italian army first, and by the German army after September 8, 1943. In October 1944, Yugoslav partisans occupied Dubrovnik, arresting more than 300 citizens and executing 53 without trial. This event came to be known, after the small island on which it occurred, as the Daxa massacre. Communist leadership during the next several years continued political prosecutions, which culminated on April 12, 1947 with the capture and imprisonment of more than 90 citizens of Dubrovnik. Under communism, Dubrovnik became part of the Socialist Republic of Croatia and Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. In 1979, the city joined the UNESCO list of World Heritage Sites. Since 1991, breakup of Yugoslavia and its aftermath. Main article, Siege of Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik shelling, Black Dots, 1991 to 1992. In 1991, Croatia and Slovenia, which at that time were republics within Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, declared their independence. At that event, Socialist Republic of Croatia was renamed Republic of Croatia. Despite demilitarization of the Old Town in early 1970s in an attempt to prevent it from ever becoming a casualty of war, following Croatia's independence in 1991, Yugoslavia's Yugoslav People's Army, JNA, by then composed primarily of Serbs, attacked the city. The new Croatian government set up military outposts in the city itself. Montenegro, led by President Momir Bulatovic, and Prime Minister Milo Đukanovic, coming to power in the anti-bureaucratic revolution and allied to Slobodan Milosevic in Serbia, declared that Dubrovnik would not remain in Croatia because they claimed it historically had never been part of Croatia. Citation needed. This was in spite of the large Croat majority in the city and that very few Montenegrins resided there, though Serbs accounted for 6.8% of the population. On October 1, 1991, Dubrovnik was attacked by JNA with a siege of Dubrovnik that lasted for 7 months. The heaviest artillery attack was on December 6 with 19 people killed and 60 wounded. The number of casualties in the conflict, according to Croatian Red Cross, was 114 killed civilians, among them poet Milan Milizic. Foreign newspapers were criticized for placing heavier attention on the damage suffered by the Old Town than on human casualties. Nonetheless, the artillery attacks on Dubrovnik damaged 56% of its buildings to some degree, as the historic walled city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, sustained 650 hits by artillery rounds. The Croatian army lifted the siege in May 1992. And liberated Dubrovnik's surroundings by the end of October, but the danger of sudden attacks by the JNA lasted for another 3 years. Following the end of the war, damage caused by the shelling of the Old Town was repaired. Adhering to UNESCO guidelines, repairs were performed in the original style. Most of the reconstruction work was done between 1995 and 1999. The inflicted damage can be seen on a chart near the city gate, showing all artillery hits during the siege, and is clearly visible from high points around the city in the form of the more brightly colored new roofs. 80 indictments were issued for JNA generals and officers involved in the bombing. General Pavel Strugar, who coordinated the attack on the city, was sentenced to a 7.5-year prison term by the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia for his role in the attack. The 1996 Croatia-USAF CT-43 crash, near Dubrovnik Airport, killed everyone on a United States Air Force jet with United States Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown, the New York Times Frankfurt bureau chief Nathaniel C. Nash and 33 other people.